of politics. Politics is a weekly news and current affairs program of the OSBC Radio 104.5 FM. Ile Awiye Okebale Oshogbo. My name is Aboderi Adiyemi. On politics today, we are going to look at the giant stride of the government of the state of Osun under the headship of Mr. Adegboyega Oyetola in the education sector. Most especially the recent introduction of centralized admission system for placement into JSS 1 and SS1 schools, most especially the public secondary schools in Osun State, and other issues relating to the commencement of the new academic session 2022-2023 academic session and the preparation put in place by the state government towards ensuring each free session. My guest in the house today, when I introduce him, you will agree with me that it's the right peg in the right hole, the round peg in the round hole for the program today. My guest on politics today is the special advisor to the governor on education, Honorable Jamiu Olawumi. Honorable Jamiu Olawumi, you are welcome on board politics today.
Good afternoon, listener, and it's good to be here this afternoon.
Yes, let's start from the foundation. When the governor came on board almost 4 years ago, lots were promised that with the education being one of the cardinal focus of the administration. Almost 4 years down the line, how has the journey been? Let's start from that.
Thank you very much. Yes, during the electioneering, education was one of the cardinal programs of to be executed by Mr. Adegboyega Oyetola when he became the governor. And I thank God ever since, even though there was a lull or interregnum occasioned by litigation that lasted almost 10 months after that election. Much was not done in the first 10-11 months, because not until October 24, 2019 was myself and other colleagues on the cabinet were appointed as commissioners and special advisors. And during the interregnum, which some people regard as void period, there was a committee in charge of education. But be it as it may, be it as it might have been, you can't say the committee will do as much as somebody on the position recognized by the Constitution to manage education will be. One is a committee system. They wouldn't have been able to take a decision just at a go. You are a committee member, you have to refer to the committee, revert to the committee to take decisions until we have the driver itself in the saddle. So since when we took office, October 24, 2019, we can say a lot had happened, and so many are still happening. First, what we did was to look at issues holistically in education. You agree with me that the Federal Ministry of Education, as big as that ministry is, and with all other agencies, almost 32 agencies under the Federal Ministry of Education, there is a permanent secretary. That's federal, where you have 36 states plus the FCT, where the federal government has interest in concurrent service in education. One permanent secretary.
Overseeing all the agencies?
Yes. When we came in, we met 18 permanent secretaries, not sure, or equivalent. There was the permanent secretary of education, there was a permanent SUBEB, there's acting permanent secretary that we call the coordinating directors. In almost another 12 agencies. You also have a permanent secretary to general 3. And you know what permanent secretary means. It means you have your compartment within the system. Watertight compartment. Things cannot grow. Things cannot flow. Because when you take a decision now, it might not be at the same thing the other person will want to take in his agency. So we try to streamline, and we streamlined. Today I can tell you that we have a seasoned permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education who was Tutor General for almost 7-8 years before becoming the permanent secretary, who was also a school principal, who was also a teacher. So we have been able to do that because there have been seeming but very covert separation in the education sector. You have education officers, you have teachers. Today we have everybody together. We have united the household of education. So far, so good. And we raised a memo to the council looking at issues in the education sector. We raised about 29 issues that were on our hands if you want to solve the problems in that sector. And I am also happy to inform the public that the council approved all the 29. And that is why what you see now, the harmony, the progress, and the sense of responsibility that is very, very high now that you have in the Ministry of Education in Osun. So we also talked about the every week report by Department of State Service, DSS from Abuja, on Osun every week about insecurity, rascality, and insurrection in our schools. One, because of single uniform that made it very difficult for managers to actually instill discipline. If your child and my child go to different schools, they wear the same uniform. And that singular act that we abolished brought a lot of improvement into education. One, you could ascertain which student is this, from which school. You can say this school is not doing well because you have their children on the street 9-10 o'clock, which no principal would like to happen now. Every student goes to school promptly and they stay in their school because they know their uniform will expose them when they go out at the ungodly hours. You also have the spirit, what we call patriotism and sense of ownership reinstilled and restored in one, all student association of those schools. Two, in the schools, the students themselves, and the communities that own those schools. You have now all student associations coming into school to assist because they could see their uniform back. And I can tell you so far, so we have attracted support in terms of infrastructure, books, uniforms for students, and other upgrade of schools, bringing in teachers who can handle specialists of certain subjects to the tune of 4 billion naira in the last 2.5 years when we started the implementation. This is also not to forget that we were also held down for another 8 months after we came into office by COVID-19. COVID-19 actually brought a lot of issues that even governments across the world are still battling with. So Osun cannot be a separate case. You have the issue of COVID affecting schools. We couldn't go to school. Schools became bushy. Infrastructures got decayed. And we had to start to reinvent to be able to resume after COVID lockdown was over. You have to look at the issue of sanitizer, face masks, and all those things that government was providing for students and teachers then. It's actually ate deep into the budget of education. But we are over it, and we are moving on.
Well, my guest is still Honorable Jamiu Olawumi, the special advisor to the governor on education, and we have been looking at the giant stride of the present administration in the area of educational development, putting all these policies taken by government towards streamlining and bringing growth to the sector. What are the feedback from the field? Will you say these steps taken they have impacted positively on the development of the sector?
Let's start by this. We have stakeholders in education that are very critical. You have the government, that is the owner of the schools, that is the employer of teachers, and the surrogate parent of all students. You have government doing its human job. You have teachers whose spirits, whose morale have been improved upon, have been increased. Teachers that are paid as at when due. Teachers that are now retrained and reinvited to good corporate governance of their schools. You have principals, teachers taking responsibility. You have students who see their teachers as their surrogate parents now, because we have tried to bring them together, that teachers should continue to see students as their foster children. You have stakeholders like Parent Teachers Association brought into the governance of the school. I can tell you now, PTA are as good to us as a parent forum. They are as good as our chief advisors on their schools. If anybody misbehaves and the parent forum rejects that person from our school, we'll take a look at their proposals and see whether we can move one or two people out of the school. You now have Old Student Association who are renovating schools, bringing in furnitures, and also providing scholarship, funding WAEC, final exams for certain students. And I can tell you, without being immodest, as people sitting at top education sector in the state, myself and Commissioner for Education, we also have a number of students that we have adopted as our children, that we pay money and sponsor in our schools.
So, Honorable Jamiu Olawumi, you have made this critical stakeholders to realize that it is not only the responsibility of
the government, yes,
to fund education alone, that they too have vital role to play in the development of education in Osun State. Yesterday, the schools in Osun State resumed for the new academic session 2022-2023, and going into the new academic session, one of the policies introduced by the government in the sector is the centralization of admission system into GSS1 and SS1 in public schools.
Yes.
What are the intent of this policy, centralized admission system into secondary school, as introduced by government?
You yourself and the listener at home will recall that when we were in school, in those days, there was means of measurement of performance. Examination and test in class has two functions: to assess students and also to assess the teachers. But you agree with me that before 2018, students in our schools were getting automatic promotion. They were moving from one class to another. At that time, discerning parents will know that education at that time was not for specific. It was for numeracy and literacy, to be able to read and write. If you run a program like that, most students will not make anything out of education other than to be literate, to be able to read and write.
And nothing more.
Nothing more. And education goes beyond that. If your students, your children in the state can only read and write, and they cannot progress in learning, then you are not preparing for the future. That's why it is the decision of Ogbuego Itola administration that students must be measured. They must write exams before they move from one class to another. How can you be carrying everybody? And you remember in those days, before Itola came in, they even abused it. It was a generosity of the government of that time to make sure that teachers will be more responsible in management of students, even though they are moved automatically from one class to another. They expected the teachers to also do what is best. Teachers were doing it, except for the salary that was not coming. They have salary that became a challenge to the entire state, and they still become a challenge to Nigeria. Osun was a challenge to Nigeria at that time. Osun was a common challenge that President Buhari had to say that why were they sleeping when they could not pay salary of their workers? So we became a challenge. The challenge which Oyetola had removed and we have forgotten. If you tell people that we are paying regular salary, people will say, is it not your responsibility? I laugh. Was it not our responsibility when the government could not pay? Why are you not talking about it?
Of course, yes. People were talking about it.
So we remove Osun from becoming a challenge to the federal government. It is an achievement. So if you cannot test the performance of your students and through it assess the dedication and commitment of teachers, it means you are not doing anything. We started that. So before you move from a class to another, there's a benchmark. You don't score up to this, you will repeat. I remember in those days when we were in school, people were repeating classes.
Of course, yes.
And even did not fall. It is not that when you ask students to repeat, they go on street. Stupid people who could not pass exam, going on street to protest. And some parents who support them, please help me promote them. Promote them so that they become what? To become eventual dropouts and street urchins.
So the intention is to ensure...
The intention is to make sure there's a measurement and standard. If you are going to SS3, where eventually in another 6 months after your promotion you are going to write WAEC, and you could not score, you could not obtain 5 credits in your internal exam, what business do you have writing WAEC and coming back to tell the world that the state is not performing? So there's a benchmark, and that will continue to be. If you don't start it to look at placement examinations in other climes, as old as I am, I will still be using my number, national number given to me at birth. You don't change. It's only in Nigeria you have somebody, you have his date of birth separately. You have a number when he was in primary school, another number in during GSS, another number when he gets to SS class, another number when he gets to Polytechnic or NC, another number when he gets to university, even another number when he gets to for his postgraduate programs. It's frivolous. It does not allow for poor planning, for better planning. So now, when you enter our school, you have your admission number.
Right from
yes,
from GSS1.
From GS1, and that number we are going to use throughout until you get to SS3 and get out of our school. So that is for planning, for proper identification, and for proper documentation.
Well, what measures have you put in place to eliminate manipulation of these exams? Exams that are put in place to measure students. As we are in this part of the world, we are exposed to various manipulations.
Yes, this is a very different ball game. I ask you why. Out of magnanimity and conscientiousness and resounding sense of duty, Governor Oyetola approved the establishment of examination board. Let me tell you for free, by the time the governor were approaching for approval for examination board, Osun was one of the 3 states that did not have examination board in Nigeria.
You don't mean it?
Yes. The Ministry of Education and Federal Ministry of Education had written us as a government for more than 15 times before we got to office that we should establish examination board. If you don't have examination board, you are conducting BECE, Basic Education Certificate Examination, which people call junior WAEC. You are not awarding certificates. There must be examination board, because it's the examination board that is in charge of such exams. So before we inaugurated examination board in the state, it was more or less a free-for-all thing that some people, examination department that will not have proper constitution in terms of governance to look at what becomes of the exams, because it is not only exams. When you do exam, you come back to analysis to track other issues arising from the exams. If you are promoting a social number of students who have weak passes in mathematics, you'll be able to attach note to their name when they are going to their school. Teachers take note. These students require special attention in mathematics. Those are one of the functions of the examination board.
Honorable Jami Olawu, how would the placement of students into schools be done? Is it the school, the examination board that we do the placement?
When you write our exams, before you are qualified to write exams now, you must have attended classes first term, second term. First term, second term are exams conducted by their teachers for them, preparing them for unified promotion examination that Ministry of Education through the examination board will organize. If you don't attend the 2, you are not qualified to write the UP. You must repeat that class. However, when you now give out the UP exams, it is exam questions taken out of the scheme, the syllabus of the class, by external examiners in the Ministry of Education. Why? To assess the students, also assess the teachers.
Well, listeners at home, you have the opportunity of speaking directly with the special advisor to the Governor on Education, Jami Olawu, through our studio number 08187775577 to make inquiries about the new policies into admission into junior and senior secondary schools as introduced by the state government of Osun. In this wise, what are the roles expected to be played by parents and guardians in ensuring that this policy, this new introduction, works?
Yes, our schools are free tuition paying schools. We don't charge students except what parent forum will say they will contribute to government activities. One of such is the 500 naira education development levy they pay through the Parents Teacher Association to the government. They do that, and we use the contribution to run emergency in the school, roof blowing off by rain or storm, little things, quick repair of furnitures and all those things. That's one. Number 2 is you have the examination board becoming and fusing into the current level of civilization in the world.
How?
When you write our placement exams, you are going to check your result online. That's one. Still scratch cards. They sell at 100 naira, 150 naira at most. If you now have results already analyzed, school you choose a school. If your school, the school you are choosing takes the least is 45% cutoff for you to enter into GS1. You understand? And you score less, you won't be able to log into that school. You
automatically
look, you look for another school. Yes, and it's also tied to the space available. If a particular school is taking 95 students for class 1, for GS1, and it is filled, you can't log in again.
When it reaches 95.
Yes, when it is reached 95, you must look for another school. So, timelessness and sense of duty on the part of parents and students is required. Immediately you buy the scratch card, you must go and log in and see where your mark fits in, and care quickly you register for that.
Well, let's take this call, Honorable Jami. Good afternoon. I think we missed the call. Yes, the studio number is still 08187775777. Maybe we'll be able to take 1 or 2 calls before quitting the studio this afternoon. But what about the communities where the schools are located?
Yes, community.
Let me take this
Okay.
call. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Your name, please.
I'm from Ede.
Your question, please, quickly.
No, I just want to contribute, please.
Okay, you are on.
For the examination they said, you know before, they say mass promotion, mass failure is better now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There's no place for mass promotion again. Yeah.
There's no place
Thank you.
for mass promotion again. Yes. At the long run, what do you think the education sector in Osun State will experience with these government policies?
First, for now, in the interim, we are enjoying peace in the education sector, and things are running well. The products of this situation will be students who will be educationally sound and morally upright. Second, we are taking it to the direction of requirements of the state capacity. You don't just train people, you must tailor them to the capacity you require as a state. If we are focusing science and ICT, your pattern of management must tailor towards it. That is why in the recruitment of teachers we are doing, 85%, I can tell you for free, is going to be for sciences, English and mathematics. We are taking seriously literacy. English will take care of that. Mathematics will take care for numeracy. And for the sciences, physics, chemistry, biology, physics, chemistry, biology, agri science, and physics, chemistry, biology, agri science, mathematics, and English language. 6 core subjects. And if you know that any student that has 5 of the 6 is qualified for matriculable institutions. So that is our ambition, and that is we are looking at a generation in another 3-4 years of people who could be able to do robotics, in computer engineering, computer studies, who will be able to perform in national competitions for jets and sciences, like we had 3 years ago when we won the Olympiad in Nigeria. We want to have a state that will have students who will be able to become competitive, will be able to compete among their peers across the world. Well, I remember when I was in secondary school, what we were doing there was to write institutions, universities abroad, yes. And they send the admission form to you. That was when they have we have credibility, and they also have confidence in the education system we run in Nigeria.
That was long.
We want people to have their destination here in Osun for students who are going to be brilliant.
On a final note, what would be your advice in Nigeria to critical stakeholders who will be involved in the implementation of this policy?
Yeah, I'd like to commend like Asiwaju Yinka Fashuyi the Ashwaju of Ijesha land. That man, every year, 300 WAHEC scholarships for students. 300 every year. People like that are many. There are other people too in a war. Then commend the governor, Mr. Abueguyetola, who also has been sponsoring students, indigent students, for WAHEC. We want more high net worth individuals to join us and assist, because some parents, if you look at the demographics of our students in Osun, people who go to public schools, most of them are from broken homes. Most of them are staying with their grandparents. Most of them, their parents are not living with them. They are in far away villages. So we need assistance, because these students are brilliant too. And we must do intervention to save our society. We need them.
Well, I want to appreciate Honorable Jamiu Olawobe, the Special Advisor to the Governor on Education, for finding time to be here to elaborate on the activities of government in the area of educational development in the state. We want to appreciate you once again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
This afternoon, Abimbola Babatunde is the executive producer of politics, while Motorayo Ayegbayo is the producer. My name is Adeyemi Abodere. On behalf of the entire crew, we say thank you for being there and good afternoon.